It's 8:36 on January 15, 2026. This is the Colorado Transportation Commission regular meeting. I'm Shelley Cook, Chair. Herman Stockinger, could you please call the roll?
Commissioner Barrett.
Here.
Commissioner Marcano. Present. Commissioner Jones.
Here.
Commissioner Gutierrez.
Here.
Commissioner Ritter.
Here.
Commissioner McLaughlin.
Here.
Commissioner Parsons.
Here.
Commissioner Hart.
Here.
Commissioner Masters. I think
Is excused.
Vice Chair Bowman.
Here.
Chair Cook.
Here. And thank you. And we're going to have a slight change in our agenda today because some of the folks who need to be presenters are down at the Capitol preparing for the State of the State address. So what we'll do is we're going to have public comment delayed just for a little bit while we take the reports from Director Liu, Shoshana Liu, and then followed by Emily Hadaway, our legislative liaison. And then we'll resume the agenda in the regular order. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to Director Liu for your report, please.
Great. Thank you, Chair Cook, and apologies for the conflict. The State of the State is taking place this morning as the legislative session begins this week. So a number of us need to begin the events surrounding that in just a few minutes. It has been a busy few weeks here, to say the least. This week, our team is completing the public hearing process on the I-270 project with 3 in-person hearings and 2 virtual ones. So a tremendous amount of work going into that. I had the opportunity to attend the final in-person meeting this week, and the team did a really very good job pulling together what are difficult logistical events for any project, much less a large one like that. Speed enforcement fines are beginning this week for the construction zone on Colorado 119. I suspect Keith Stefanik may talk more about this because the engineering team has done a lot of the legwork to make that important development happen. Violators will now be fined for traveling 10 miles or more over the speed limit. And we have seen that this strategy is effective and are pleased to be able to put this improvement into place. Also, since the last meeting, we had the severe December wind events on December 17th and 19th. And folks may recall that a large part of the Front Range lost power, which included traffic lights and an awful lot of our technology in those areas. And I wanted to give a shout out to Bob Pfeiffer, who did a remarkable job kind of going above and beyond the call of duty, convening many folks in the Jeffco area, especially CSP, Arvada, Sheriff's Office, and others, to make sure that we were sort of fully coordinated around the traffic implications of that sort of event. And as we've heard that it could happen again, a very important competency for our team to be bringing to bear in this space. The Greenland Wildlife Overpass also opened in this past month for our 4-legged traffic users. Actually getting some national attention in terms of its significance, and I think it made it into Axios, and you know what's sort of permeated by who reads those things in Axios and tells you about them, but getting a lot of positive attention for being a model across the country for how to handle the safety needs around wildlife crossings, and then a less severe snow season than this time of year usually is, but nonetheless our maintenance forces are out there rolling with the punches as they do, and being able to kind of deal with winter being a little different than usual so far. Hopefully it will pick up a little, or summer could be quite aggressive in the other direction, and never know what's going to come in January, February, but February, March are usually the worst. With that, I think those are the big things for me this week, other than that with the start of legislative session will kick off a number of important conversations, as it always does. So excited to get that process underway, and I believe a good segue to Emily.
Yes, it is. And thank you for that update very much. Next, Emily Hadaway, our legislative liaison. Greetings, Emily.
Thank you, Chair Cook. Yes, legislative session kicked off yesterday. We are now in the phase of drafting a few different bills that we've spoken about with the commission before. One is our statutory cleanup bill that was presented to the TLRC over the summer. So we're working with Rep. Pascal from Colorado Springs on that bill. We're also working with Rep. Smith on our abandoned vehicles in the right-of-way adjustment. So those are currently in the drafting phase and should be introduced in the coming months. Also looking forward to continuing the conversation from yesterday about other legislation that may be needed to accomplish our goals this year. Beyond that, we are reporting to the Joint Committee of Transportation on Tuesday as our SMART Act hearing. So all state agencies are required to present yearly on their wildly important goals. So a variety of CDOT staff will be present for that. We're looking forward to working with a lot of new members this year, especially on the Transportation Committee. Senator Cutter is the new chair of Senate Transportation. Senator Ball is vice chair, and he's new to the committee, but he's very interested in multimodal and working with us on a variety of different transportation pieces. And Senator Lindstedt is also new to the committee, who we've worked with in the past, but he was not recently on House Transportation the last year. So excited to work with him and again, now that he is in the Senate. There's also a few new members in the House as well. And so, yeah, there's not been a lot of transportation bills introduced so far. There's been a few from the TLRC that were drafted over the summer. And then Colorado State Patrol is working on a cleanup to child passenger safety laws. So that's been introduced, but otherwise there hasn't been a lot of surprises yet, but that isn't saying much. I'm sure they'll come soon. I'm so excited to see what comes down the pipeline.
Okay, any questions of Emily? I should have asked also for Director Liu. Looks like we're good. Thank you so much, Emily. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on then, we have public commenters, and we'll take those who are in person first, and I'll just go from my list here. I have Lisa Huff. I hope that's pronouncing it correctly. Please.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Lisa Huff, and I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to comment today. I am currently serving as President and CEO of the Adams County Regional Economic Partnership, the regional chamber of commerce for Adams County. We represent more than 80 primary employers that provide quality jobs for thousands of workers. Many of those employees rely on I-25 and 270 every single day to get to work. Employers depend on the roads to transport goods. That's why transportation is one of our core priorities, because it's fundamental to economic vitality, workforce access, and community safety. Adams County is one of the fastest growing regions in Colorado. We have one of the youngest median age populations and some of the most attainable housing in the metro area. These are key ingredients for the workforce of the future. Yet our region was among the last to receive rail service from RTD, which still remains incomplete, and limited bus routes. And once again, we are at risk of being pushed.
Sorry, I have a loud voice, so I hope that was okay. Yet our region was among the last to receive rail service, limited bus routes, and once again, we're at risk of being overlooked for critical roadway investments. We appreciate CDOT's inclusion of I-25 and 270 in the proposed 10-year plan. These are not new ideas. These are long-planned projects that simply have not kept pace with the economic and population growth already underway. Safety must be our top priority. Our hospitals, our schools, our manufacturers, and other essential service providers depend on employees arriving safely. While you've heard the crash data along I-25, for many of us, this is a daily risk. The current conditions are just unacceptable. On 270, near constant congestion and frequent standstill conditions create daily safety hazard. That 6-mile stretch serves as a critical connector between bioscience companies and students in Boulder County, with the Anschutz Medical Campus, Children's Hospital, Fitzsimmons Innovation Community, which I'll remind you is one of the second largest economic drivers in Colorado. These corridors are also the backbone of Colorado's freight economy. We are uniquely positioned, hosting every major federal highway. I-25 and 270 together carry the highest combined freight volumes in the region and are projected to handle nearly 10,000 trucks per day by 2050. Our advanced manufacturers, our food processors, our construction materials and our distribution centers all depend on these routes to reach the Denver metro area, Denver International Airport, and regional rail terminals. When these corridors fail, our entire Front Range economy feels it. So my ask today is straightforward. AC Rep urges the Commission to prioritize full safety and operational improvements for I-25 early in the 10-year plan, and to move forward with completing the work on 270 to restore safety and reliability for commuters and freight alike. Thank you for your leadership and for recognizing that transportation infrastructure is economic infrastructure. Safe, reliable roads are how we protect our people, support our businesses, and keep Colorado moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Matt Muir. Matt,
Good
I'm
morning.
probably mangling the name. Oh, you're online. Okay, go
No,
ahead.
you got
please.
it. I'm unmuting. Thank you, Chair. My name is Matt Muir. I work for Coalition for Cyclists. We're a nonprofit. Our work is based in Boulder County. Despite the fact that the federal grant was declined, C4C thanks CDOT for supporting the US 36 North Foothills Corridor Safety Project and associated bikeway, and for offering to contribute to the local match, which made the grant application possible. C4C requests that without negatively affecting funding of other projects, the US 36 North Foothills Safety Project be moved from the 2031 and beyond column to the 2027 funding column. The reason why is safety. The project's design will prevent killed and seriously injured on one of, or perhaps Colorado's most dangerous roads for cyclists. The project makes the roadway safer for all users, including drivers who regularly complain about cyclists on the roadway. By keeping CDOT's $1 million on the table, it allows Boulder County to leverage tens of millions of dollars or more for the full, tens of millions of dollars for the full $95 million project. A larger commitment from CDOT for such a significant project would be great. We'd like to get started on this project. C4C applauds the Highway 119 Boulder diagonal, the Highway 119B diagonal Boulder to Longmont project. C4C's position is that this project design should be adapted based on context and scaled across Colorado. It's a role model project that produces mobility, safety, and comfort for all, and it aligns CDOT's principles with its budgets. The last thing I have to say is thank you for your service. I know that serving on a commission is not easy.
Thank you very much. And back to Drew Morris, the Thornton City Council member. Greetings.
Good morning, Transportation Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to provide public comment today. My name is Drew Morris. I am the council member for the city of Thornton. I'm here not only as a representative for Thornton, but also as a representative for the North I-25 Coalition and the North Area Transportation Alliance, or NATA, as Thornton is a member of both groups. As each of you on the commission knows, I-25 forms the backbone of commerce and connectivity through the heart of our great state and beyond. Our region is not only growing quickly, but we're also experiencing severe safety and operational concerns along segment 2, 3B, and 4. We also have concerns regarding congestion on I-270. And before I go on, I do want to express gratitude to CDOT regional staff for proposing the inclusion of all these important segments in the upcoming 10-year plan. I'm here to continue to advocate for their inclusion in that same plan as I-25 and I-270 are in Thornton City Council's adopted regional and sub-regional transportation priorities resolution. Segment 2 has been in various planning phases for nearly 15 years, all while serious safety and operational concerns directly impact our communities every day. While the express lanes have been successful in this segment, the average of 2.7 crashes per day and a fatality crash every other month is simply unacceptable. This safety issue takes a heavy resource allocation of the communities adjacent to I-25. For Thornton, the response is often multiple police, fire, and ambulance personnel and equipment, at least twice a day, along with the increased noise and air pollution on our city streets. from diverted interstate traffic onto our roadways. The increase in traffic on our roadways also shortens the life of our roads and increases maintenance and replacement costs. On behalf of NADA and the I-25 Coalition and the City of Thornton, I urge CDOT to fund the full construction of Segment 2's operational and safety improvements in the early years of the 10-year plan and to specifically leverage strategic CTIO funding sources. As the state's economic powerhouse, North I-25 is and will continue to see key industries building along that corridor, especially as we continue to see demand for continued distribution and fulfillment center construction to accommodate online ordering. But the logistics for these industries do not work if safety and operational issues on I-25 continue. Colorado needs the I-25 express lanes built in segments 3B and 4 to foster our economy by enhancing travel time reliability. In addition to the demands incurred by economic shifts, the completion of the express lanes would make public transit trips a viable and reliable alternative to driving. We would encourage CDOT to continue to design staging work and construction for segments 3B and 4 and I-270 in the next 10-year plan. Thank you so much.
Okay, back to online. We've got Emily Baer from Erie Council Member.
Hi there, can you hear me?
We sure can.
All right, good morning, commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to provide public comment today. My name is Emily Baer. I'm a council member for the town of Erie, and I'm here representing my growing community, but also the 25 communities as chair of the North Area Transportation Alliance, or NADA, and the North I-25 Coalition. Our collective advocacy centers on finishing CDOT plans vetted through public involvement, technical analysis, and coordinated local plans that serve everyday people accessing jobs, schools, recreation, and healthcare in our communities. The North I-25 and I-270 and multimodal transportation improvements are much awaited and needed infrastructure. I also want to echo the previous commenters' gratitude to CDOT regional staff for proposing the inclusion of all of these important segments in the upcoming 10-year plan. As each of you on the commission knows all too well, I-25 forms the backbone of commerce and connectivity through the heart of our great state. Our local counties providing the regional housing supply at 2 times the overall state growth rate to support growth and the needs of our people. Our constituents are seeking answers to severe daily safety and operational concerns along segment 2, 3B, and 4. It's worth noting that segment 2 has been in various planning phases for over 15 years. At the same time, CDOT data demonstrates that the I-25 corridor and these segments, 2, 3B, and 4, provide the best return on investment, including direct benefits to the CDOT and RTD transit systems. For example, according to CDOT, Bustang North Line has the most passengers per revenue mile and is most productive line across Bustang's entire network. The North I-25 project is a force multiplier where local agencies have partnered and developed local transit and mobility investments to service the mobility hubs. Previously completed I-25 segments 6, 7, and 8 have shown a 45% reduction in crashes. Without proper investment, we are unable to achieve the safety and multimodal goals of our regional and local transportation plans. On behalf of NADA and I-25 Coalition, I urge CDOT to fund and construct the operational and safety improvements in the early years of the 10-year plan, specifically by leveraging strategic CTIO funding sources. To summarize, our coalition is here to ask the Colorado Department of Transportation to prioritize pursuing strategic CTIO and other funding sources to complete the existing North I-25 commitments by constructing full safety and operational improvements in the 10-year plan. Completion of the plan supports regional transit systems, local multimodal plans, and demonstrates responsiveness to growing communities. Managed lanes are an essential and strategic investment with a proven ROI. It makes sense to accelerate the construction to realize the multimodal benefits. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you today.
Thank you very much. Okay, next we have Kristen Stevens from Larimer County and also the Front Range MPO.
That's right. Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I'm Kristen Stevens, Chair of the North Front Range MPO, and also a Larimer County Commissioner, as was said. On behalf of the North Front Range Metropolitan Planning Organization, I want to begin by expressing our strong support for CDOT's 10-year plan and the thoughtful list of projects that are included in this plan. The plan represents more than a collection of transportation investments. It reflects a shared vision for how Northern Colorado will grow, connect, and thrive over the next decade. As one of the fastest growing regions in the state, our communities depend on a transportation system that is safe, resilient, and responsive to how people actually live, work, and travel. CDOT's long-range approach gives us the certainty and partnership we need to align local, regional, and state priorities. I also want to sincerely thank the Region 4 staff for their continued commitment to community outreach. The engagement efforts behind this plan have been exceptional. From local governments and transit agencies to business leaders, advocacy groups, and everyday travelers, voices across our region were invited into this process. That inclusive approach ensures the projects included in the 10-year plan truly reflect the needs, values, and priorities of Northern Colorado. We especially appreciate the strong emphasis on multimodal investment. Our region has demonstrated that when we invest in high-quality transit and coordinated corridor improvements, people respond. And as was just said in the previous comment, Bustang services is the most successful in the state on the northern route. And that's the result of strategic planning, reliable service, and a willingness to meet travelers where they are. Partnerships have been key to this success, particularly the collaboration between CDOT, the CTIO board, and regional partners on multimodal corridor improvements. Those investments allow transit, roadway, bike, pedestrian, and freight systems to work together rather than competing for space. This approach improves mobility, expands access to jobs and services, and strengthens our regional economy. Above all, we commend CDOT for keeping safety as the highest priority in this plan. Every project, regardless of mode, should contribute to saving lives and reducing serious injuries on our roadways. The North Front Range Metropolitan Planning Organization strongly supports the continued focus on safer intersections, improved corridor designs, and investments that protect our most vulnerable users, people walking, biking, and using transit. A safe transportation system is the foundation for a strong and livable region. In closing, the North Front Range Metropolitan Planning Organization is proud to partner with CDOT in support of this 10-year plan. It reflects careful listening, strategic investment, and a clear commitment to multimodal mobility and safety. We look forward to continuing this partnership as these projects move from planning to reality, delivering benefits to all the communities that we serve. I just thank you for your leadership and your collaboration and your dedication to the people of Northern Colorado. Thanks a lot.
And thank you very much. Next, we have Becky English from the Colorado Sierra Club.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Becky English, Chair of the Colorado Sierra Club's Transportation Committee. I'm attending the TC meeting today to share Sierra Club perspectives regarding CDOT's planned projects. We hope you'll keep our convictions in mind as you consider all potential projects. The Sierra Club has 70,000 members and supporters in Colorado, and our preference is to work collaboratively with CDOT. Last November, we sent a letter to you as part of a coalition of organizations interested in sustainable transportation planning. I'd like to reiterate a few items. We do ask you to prioritize projects that expand transportation options well beyond driving, to reduce congestion, VMT, and pollution, to improve safety and save lives, and to repair and maintain existing roads and bridges. We ask you to align the projects and your budget with these priorities as Policy Directive 14 requires. Unfortunately, many of the costly projects on the 10-year plan's list do not align with PD 14, as they shortchange Coloradans' expressed concerns regarding affordability, safety, public health, and sustainability. The current plan calls for CDOT to spend nearly 3 times as much on 15 road capacity projects as on all the planned transit and active transportation projects combined. We need to reverse that scenario, putting our money where our mouth is. We need to manage demand smarter and provide significantly more robust alternative to driving. The BRT projects do just that. Looking to the future, fully networked, automated, all-electric transit and cargo systems powered mostly by the sun and controlled by artificial intelligence can also do just that, and very well. Such projects should begin appearing now on CDOT's long-range plans. For example, the I-70 Mountain Advanced Guideway System is way overdue per FHWA's 2011 Record of Decision. Why is this project not in the 10-year plan? Sierra Club et al. Opposed the Central 70 project on the same grounds that groups are opposing the I-270 expansion and other widening projects like I-25 north of Denver and I-70 expansion lane projects. Please reflect on what we've learned about the value of such projects versus the value of far less expensive multimodal projects. Please facilitate the paradigm shift in Colorado from way too many vehicles on asphalt to human-powered transportation and advanced, networked, automated electric transit and freight. Let's go. Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you.
And thank you. Okay, next we have Julie Mullica from Adams County.
All right, thank you so much. All right, thank you so much for being here today. My name is Julie Duran Mullica. I'm an Adams County Commissioner, and I want to speak to you today, not just about two corridors, but about a turning point. For decades, I-270 and I-25 have represented some of the most visible and most frustrating gaps in Colorado's transportation system. Everyone in this room knows the history, the congestion, the safety issues, the economic drag, and the communities that have lived with the impacts for far too long. What I feel is different today is that for the first time in a long time, we are no longer debating whether these problems exist. Instead, we are working together to figure out how to solve them. The DEIS 270 meetings of the past week were not just a checkbox. They were a signal that this process is serious, credible, and ready for implementation. The public showed up informed, engaged, and focused on the outcomes. And that's what happens when people believe this plan is real. I want to say something clearly about I-270 in particular. This corridor has done the work. The communities, the local governments, the freight partners, the region has spent years in this process. The voices that need to shape this project are already at the table. We don't need new outside voices parachuting in late, trying to reopen fundamental questions that this community has already wrestled with and worked through in good faith. The I-270 is one of the most freight-intensive congested corridors in the state. I-25 North is the spine of the North Metro economy. Together, they shape whether our region functions or stalls. And how we handle these two corridors will say a lot about Colorado's ability to execute big, complex, multi-year infrastructure projects. The 10-year plan is where intention becomes commitment. Keeping I-270 and I-25 at the center of this plan is not just a transportation decision, it's an economic, equity, and competitiveness decision. As Adams County perspective, we are ready for the long haul, ready to help solve problems, ready to align land use, housing, economic development around these investments, and we're ready to be a reliable partner as you move forward from planning to delivery. Thank you for your leadership and for staying the course on the projects that will define this region for the next generation. Thanks.
Thank you. Next, we have Lynn Baca, also from Adams County.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Honorable members of the Transportation Commission, CDOT staff and administration. I'm Commissioner Lynn Baca with Adams County. I am here also to talk about several corridors here in Adams County, one including 270, also I-25 North, and also to bring community voice to these processes and projects. So I had the opportunity this past Tuesday to provide public comments to the 270 DEIS public hearing that was held at Adams City High School. So I want to thank the CDOT staff for having that in community. It was well attended, both by advocates, community members, and business members. I-270, I just want to talk about that for just a moment. It does carry twice the amount of freight than any other corridor here in Colorado. Also, we are home to all of the CDOT interstates here in Adams County. So I-270, I-70, 225, I-25, and Interstate 76. By logistics, we also have all the railroads that run through Adams County, and we have a world-class airport that sits right in the middle of Adams County. For I-270, what I heard that night was a concerned community. And I think that's my role as a county commissioner, is to really listen to those voices that are sometimes quiet, sometimes timid, and most of the time very vulnerable. And so I want to elevate the concerns of those community members on I-270. And it wasn't about the project, it was about implementation, construction, traffic congestion, and what that looks like for their community. So as we look forward to taking 270 offline with the bold support of the Transportation Commission, because your Adams County commissioners stand behind this project, I really want to emphasize to work with community on traffic, congestion, impacts to small business, and what do alternative travel routes look like for all of those that currently drive on I-270. I also want to give my support to the preferred alternative plan of the DEIS that is very critical to connectivity to North I-25 and also the auxiliary lanes that have been presented in the board charts that were there. I'm here to also talk about the 10-year plan and our support as the Board of County Commissioners. This has been in alignment with CDOT, that I-25 North and the I-270 corridors have been our priorities for 5 years, at least the 5 years I've been an Adams County Commissioner. I-25 North is a safety forward for me. It is law enforcement and towing trucks being able to enforce traffic stops and also human safety on that. I want to thank you and conclude with your dedication to public service, for hearing our comments today, and thank you for your service to the state of Colorado.
And thank you very much. Okay, we have Jamie or Jaime Valdez. Is he present or online?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great, thank you. Good morning, commissioners, and thank you for the opportunity to provide comments on this critically important topic. My name is Jamie Valdez, or Jaime. I answer to both, and I don't necessarily have a preference. And I am the Colorado Transportation and Energy Policy Advocate for Green Latinos. Some of you may have previously interacted with my colleague Juan Madrid in this role. Juan has now moved on to a national position in our organization, and I've moved into his former position. So I look forward to working with you on this and other issues in the future. I'm also a Pueblo native and a resident, as well as a parent and grandparent with little ones growing up in our community. I'm here today to urge you to oppose the proposed I-270 expansion. Highway widening is a costly approach that does not solve congestion, as is plainly and at times painfully evident on I-25 in the gap between Monument Hill and Castle Rock. And it diverts funding from repairing the existing roads, bridges, and infrastructure that communities rely on every day. There is established public health literature documenting the harm to human health caused by air pollution and noise from traffic, including increased asthma and negative cognitive impacts in children. It is well known that the result of widening or expansion of highways often is not long-term reduction of congestion, but increased traffic and congestion. Furthermore, our path in Colorado should be toward reductions in fuel or fossil fuel-based transportation and increased accessible, cost-effective options for public and commercial use. As I stated earlier, I am from Pueblo, and fortunately, we don't currently have such severe congestion problems, but it is getting worse. Moreover, we are a disproportionately impacted community, and we're situated at the intersections of two major arteries of the highway system, I-25 and Highway 50, along with all the air and noise pollution that come with them. In fact, my backyard butts right up against Highway 50, and the amount of noise pollution my neighbors and I have to deal with on a regular basis, along with The physiological stress caused by it is utterly indefensible, not to mention we're also right under the flight path for planes landing at the Pueblo Memorial Airport. I sure wouldn't want an expansion to add to the cumulative impacts we already experience here in Pueblo, and I am concerned about the adverse effects that widening I-270 will have on the neighborhoods and communities in that disproportionately impacted area, especially without a comprehensive study and recommendations for mitigation of hazards. With limited transportation dollars available, I respectfully ask that you require CDOT to prepare a supplemental environmental impact statement and formally review the Healthy Communities No Widening Alternative so that more cost-effective, responsible options can be fully considered. Please prioritize fiscally responsible transportation investments that focus on repair, safety, and long-term public benefit rather than costly expansion. Thank you for your time and consideration.
And thank you very much. Do we have anybody else that I've missed here? Looks like that's it. Just commenting on all the good comments. We don't normally respond on the moment, but especially now in the run-up to the adoption of the 10-year plan, I mean, it's really valuable to hear from the different viewpoints and perspectives and so forth from folks. So we genuinely appreciate the time you take to weigh in, whether it's here, online, or in writing. I wanted to make sure that folks knew that we also had 36 comments. Is that right? I don't remember the exact number, but they were submitted online. And Herman and his staff have compiled those into a file that we all have had for a couple of days. So we have that information as well. So, okay, with that, we'll go ahead and close the public comment portion and move on to reports from commissioners. I thought I'd sort of shake it up and go in reverse order this time, except Commissioner Todd Masters is not here today. And so I'll start with Commissioner Terry Hart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of comments this morning. First of all, I definitely want to echo your comments about the public comments that we received. Extremely valuable. It's always interesting to me whenever I've handled projects like this, the variety of comments that we receive and the different perspectives. And it definitely helps us do our job to work with CDOT that's attempting to do their job to best meet the interests of the citizens of state of Colorado. So thank you for that. The second thing I want to do is thank staff and my fellow commissioners from yesterday's work session. I frankly thought it was one of the better ones that we've had in quite a while. Wasn't a whole lot of items on the agenda yesterday, but a very in-depth conversation and very interesting. I thought that we generated a good deal of good information and a good deal of dialogue back and forth between staff and those of us who are on the commission to better understand where we are with critically important projects such as the evolution of the 10-year plan, and then also our current status of the greenhouse gas efforts that we're trying to do, the reduction of those efforts statewide. So other than that, I think that I'll go ahead and conclude my comments and just basically wish everybody a happy new year. I'm pretty excited about getting started into another cycle here. So thank you.
Thank you. Next is Commissioner Parsons online here.
Yes,
I can come back to you too. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I just wanted to echo Commissioner Hart's remarks yesterday and my appreciation for our regional transportation directors, Jessica Mickelbust, Heather Paddock, and Shane Ferguson. Those are so informational and deep dives. So thank you for that and your work on the 10-year plan projects. And then I also just wanted to mention the great work that Darius and team have done on the GHG coordination committee for us that we met just after the last transportation committee meeting in December, and we're able to go through a lot of those documents. And I just want to commend that team. It's a tremendous amount of work that they've gone through to help us all understand the work that's gone into those plans and then how it incorporates with the 10-year plan, and then to kind of reshape that and prepare it for our CDOT board meeting, commission meeting. So I just appreciate the team's efforts on all those fronts. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next person. You know, I wrote down initials and I'm drawing a blank. BM, who's that? Barbara McLaughlin. No, forgive me, online. Yes, thank you.
Here she is. Hello, everybody. Good morning and Happy New Year to everybody. Yeah, I also want to chime in and say I really appreciate all the work that is kind of done behind the scenes here with very transparent motives and explanations of what's going on, and a lot of understanding and time for questions and input from the community. And I just really appreciate all the work that everyone around me in CDOT is doing these days. I wrote my first column for, I'm going to be writing a quarterly column for several of my regional newspapers in my district. And the first one went out, and they kind of wanted to know what's been done and what's going to happen in their district. So we tailored it to each particular area. And so far the results seem pretty good. They're pretty happy with it. So anyway, so thank you everybody for all your work. I really, really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next is Vice Chair Barbara Bowman.
Thank you. I have quite a few comments. Great work session yesterday. Thank you to CDOT staff and the regional presentations were wonderful. I was very impressed with the number of 10-year plan projects that indicated increased focus on safety and also addressed the backlog of poor assets. And here's a fun fact: more than 53% of the projects include pavement and bridge asset management elements. This increases CDOT's annual pavement investments by 65%. Brilliant. Our 5 CDOT enterprises are anticipated to be investing approximately $5.2 billion in Colorado's transportation system over the next 10 years. I think that is a remarkable and very needed investment. Region 4, really impressed with the wonderful, very neat projects on road repairs, surfacing, and multimodal improvements. And I just want to mention that the previous completed I-25 segments, which are 6, 7, and 8 in Region 4, have shown a 45% reduction in crashes, which is really what we're all, trying to do. And their existing EL peak hour has an 8% reduction in greenhouse gas. Region 2 is working on wildlife safety improvements. Region 1, I just love the Federal Avenue BRT project, which will bring 74 stations with elevated platforms, sidewalks, curb ramps, roadway reconstruction. It is a great, great project. So with that, just thank you again to CDOT staff for this vibrant 10-year plan.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Ritter.
Thank you very much. A couple of thoughts. First off, driving down from Oak Creek the other day, I counted on I-70, 15 license plates from out of state. And it reminded me that our roads, I-70, I-25, I-270, are in fact interstate highways. And that we have to remember that nomenclature in thinking about how we proceed. Because what we do here and how we proceed, whether it be on a 1-mile stretch or Floyd Hill, that it does impact other parts of this country, whether it be the food and fiber supply moving through the state, but also how we service our tourism industry and other elements that make Colorado thrive. So I just want to keep somewhat in people's thinking that this isn't just about us. It's a little bit about how we interact with the rest of the country and our freight and tourism industries, and how important these roads and highways are to just not Colorado, but from a national perspective. And to that end, I got to say, south side of Floyd Hill is looking really good. And that team has been extraordinary. And thank you, gang. And CDOT has been wonderful. The staff out there making sure that this thing is on time, moving well, and is going to be a real benefit to our communities. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Commissioner Gutierrez?
Thank you, Chair Cook. As we have gone through the process here of reviewing projects, the 10-year projects, I have received, besides significant public comment, written public comment, I've received quite a number of phone calls and had a number of conversations with citizens on the 10-year plan, especially on I-25 and 270. And I will tell you that every single conversation has been respectful. And I will tell you that in every conversation, while we may have had differences of opinion on certain aspects of what we're talking about here on the 10-year plan, every single conversation we have been able to come together to the point to where we have some really common ideas about how to solve the transportation issues of this state. And what I want to say to the citizens who have contacted me is that your engagement has been extremely heartening to me, that we can still have conversations in this country solving tough issues and still be respectful of each other when we may not agree. And I will tell you that just makes me so doggone proud to be a Coloradoan and to be a part of the conversations of solving problems in this state. And you share the same passion. And anybody who has watched me on this commission knows that I have a lot of passion for solving the transportation problems of this state. And you share that passion, and I love it. And thank you for engaging with me in such a positive manner. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Okay, Commissioner Elise Jones?
Always hard to follow Cecil, but I'm proud to be a Coloradan too. So let's just keep that vibe going. And I do also want to echo, I know it's redundant, but really do appreciate the incredible feedback and input and public comment we've been getting on the 10-year plan process and transportation in general, and it's great. So please keep it up. I also want to echo the comments about yesterday's work session. We really dove deep on a lot of important issues and really valued the conversation. And one of the conversations that we had was about our collective roles, CDOTs and CTIOs, on transit and multimodal and investing in those sustainable transportation options, which is one of the priorities of the 10-year plan, among others, safety and fixing our roads. And I was in DC earlier this week for a work trip and got off the plane, jumped on the transit, went into town, walked to my destinations. For the entire time that I was there, would not have thought of renting a car or even getting in an Uber, because the transit system was so effective. And it just, obviously we're not DC, we don't have an underground metro, but the point that really just underscored for me is we deserve a world-class transit system statewide, but particularly in the metro area, and just how important that is for ease and convenience and safety and commerce and tourism. And so I just came home renewed to continue the work and the conversations that seemed like there was a lot of consensus about wrestling with how we can continue to invest in a multimodal system here in Colorado. The other experience that I wanted to wax poetic on was, I think Director Liu mentioned it, the December windstorms that shut down power. And in my neighborhood, it shut down for 24 hours twice in a 3-day period, and blew a 25-foot spruce tree, snapped it off in my front yard and fell into the street. And fortunately, nobody got hurt, and we had just moved the car, so there was no damage except that poor tree. But just very disruptive, and it cost, price tag is still out, but millions of dollars. And it was necessary because of the wildfire danger. And we just read in the newspaper that there are probably going to be more shutoffs in the next day or two further up north because of the incredible wildfire risk because of a changing climate. This is going to be our new normal. And I bring this up because not only are there impacts to the transportation system when we have to shut off power, as Director Liu mentioned, but the transportation system is the biggest source of climate emissions in the state and nationally. And so it's incumbent upon us to do our part to reduce those emissions and reduce the impacts. And that was one of the discussions we had yesterday with Darius and his team. That was really helpful to hear about the work that CDOT's doing and the region, TPRs, MPOs, trying to put together projects that help reduce the climate impact so that we're a part of the solution. So really gratifying. There's a lot more work to be done, but happy to be a part of those conversations. The last thing I want to say is very mundane. Took me a while to figure out the logistics, but I have a commissioner email now, commissionerelisejones@gmail.com. So I encourage anybody trying to reach me, schedule a meeting with me to use that going forward. And I look forward to talking with more folks about the 10-year plan and other transportation issues. So thank you.
And thank you. Commissioner Marcano, Juan Marcano.
Thank you, Chair Cook. And I just want to start by wishing everybody a happy new year. It's great to see you all again. And I hope that everyone who is here and listening had a good holidays break. I also want to thank everyone who testified. Public engagement is really important, and it always is heartening to see members of the public engaged with the work that we're doing. So just as a quick update, I wanted to let you all know that I had a chance to meet with a representative from Douglas County earlier in the week. So they shared a lot of the priorities that are happening there with their larger population centers and newer communities that are coming online. So a lot of great opportunities there to improve our transit system in District 3. And I'm excited to move on now to the local level to start talking to folks at the municipal level across my district. And yeah, we have a big year ahead of us, right? The presentation yesterday was fantastic. We have the 10-year plan, but we also have a really challenging budget year. And one of the items that we discussed that really stuck with me was the National Highway Construction Cost Index and how over the last 8 years, the cost of infrastructure, basically, for highways has grown at 72% compared to the Consumer Price Index growing over that same period of time at 31%. And y'all know that Tabor is tied more closely to the CPI than to the National Highway Construction Cost Index. So I share that just so that folks who are listening understand that with the budgetary constraints that the state is facing this year, that impacts our ability to actually keep up with the actual costs of the infrastructure that we have. So in short, we are having a difficult time, or rather facing a challenge to adequately maintain the existing infrastructure that we have. And that's not even talking about growing that infrastructure. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And I'm hoping that, we can all be good advocates to really highlight that financial reality that the state faces, the CDOT faces, because it is something that is going to adversely impact, unfortunately, the quality of life for all Coloradans if we can't, find a way to get around this issue. And with that, I'd like to close by encouraging the public to continue to remain engaged. Please interact with us if we represent you. If we don't, please reach out. And also interact with the state legislature because they're ultimately the ones that have the power to address this Tabor issue. And if you want safer transportation, if you want better options, if you want to protect our environment and our health and our economy, we need to get around this issue, and we're going to need your help to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Commissioner Barrett, Diane Barrett, District 1.
Good morning. I want to thank everybody who came. Like everybody else, I want to thank all the people who've been contacting me both personally and coming to testify in front of us. It's wonderful to hear all the different perspectives, as everybody else has said. I find that it's hard for me to, as a new member, get used to making public comments about everything. Let's just say that I'm getting a lot of support from particularly your staff and particularly Jessica Mickelbust, who has taken a lot of time to bring me up to speed. It's very helpful. So basically, just as everybody else has said, thanking staff and thanking the public for all their attention and interest. And I'm still new, so still learning and still listening. Thank you.
And thank you. That was an especially good round of comments, I thought, representing a lot of different views and perspectives on things. So thanks all for that. And then next we have the Chief Engineer's Report, Keith Stefanik, sorry.
Thank you, Chair Cook. Good morning, Commissioners. I just wanted to follow up on a few items this morning, especially Director Liu mentioned automated speed enforcement. Automated speed enforcement has been in the news a lot lately from local jurisdictions. We have one deployment here in Colorado that CDOT oversees and manages, and that's up on the 119 corridor. She mentioned that we went to the violations period starting on Monday. I'm here today. What I wanted to focus on is our next deployment. So we were able to successfully get that implemented up on the 119 corridor. And now we are looking at segment 5 in I-25. It's a current construction zone. We have many crashes in that construction zone. We have our construction phasing is moving traffic around onto some of the new concrete that was just constructed over this past year. So we are looking to start activating that zone in March and April of this year. So keeping the momentum going forward. Fortunately, right now we do have the budget using some faster safety funds to get that out there. But I do want to reiterate, this is not a revenue generation deal. We are far behind on being profitable on this initiative. What it is to do is to reduce crashes. It is to reduce fatalities across our network, which spans into my next subject. So last month, I reported on our November fatalities, how they doubled from the previous year. What I wanted to continue on is we were, from a statewide perspective on a calendar year basis, we were looking fairly well over the past several calendar years. We continued to decrease the number of fatalities. Starting in 2022 was our record high of 764 on Colorado's transportation network. We continued those numbers down in 23, 720, in 2024, 689, in 2025. We were projected to go down there for the first 10 months. Everything was looking good. Our numbers were down 44. The numbers aren't great, but they're down, trending downward, which is what we wanted to do. November and December, we had our record 2 months for fatalities across Colorado. We jumped up 53 compared to the previous year. So that finishes our number right now, steady at around 698 for 2025. We might have a few more trickle in as we get our crash data more reliable, but we did not continue the downward trend of reducing fatalities across the network. So we continue to need to focus on safety. We need to take a look at what we can do. Every tool in our toolbox is going to help. Automated speed enforcement is one of them. We're going to continue working with our engineers, our maintainers to see what we can do to try to keep that number down. So unfortunately, we are going to be sending out a media release here in the next several weeks regarding the number of fatalities in 2025. We were hoping to see a downward trend continuing. Unfortunately, that's not the message that'll be coming out from CDOT. Just a little bit on our CDOT capital construction program. So 2026, brand new year. We need to turn the page on 2025 and start taking a look at our planned projects, working with industry on what's coming out for advertisement. So later this week, we'll be distributing to industry our planned look ahead for 2026 advertisement projects. We're going to try to hit that as much as we can, keep the schedules, plan the work, get the work out. So we'll be releasing that to industry here pretty soon. Taking a look back at 2025, quickly mentioned in the packet in front of you. So it was interesting. I took a look at the page number and it's page 346 of the packet that you all have. So good job every month taking a look at that packet, but deep into that packet is a monthly cash balance update memorandum, and it explains the expenditures that we've had across the state. In 2025, we had record expenditures. That doesn't mean we had record production because, as Commissioner Marcano mentioned, costs are going up on our project. So we finished the year right around, I know the packet says 917 million, I believe. Some of the more up-to-date numbers since that packet release were right around 960 million, which is a record year for our capital construction program. We are tracking several metrics across that board, whether it's our construction management expenses or indirect expenses. We're seeing those numbers tick down, which is a good indicator. So the more money we can put out on our roads, the less that we're paying in some of our overhead and stuff like that is always a good trend. So we're going to continue taking a look at that in 2026 to see where we can be more efficient, drive some of our costs down. But it's going to be a challenging year. We have a lot of work ahead of ourselves. The regions are doing a fantastic job delivering that work that gets out to industry. So we're going to try to continue that momentum forward into 2026. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. If not, we'll move on.
Any questions for Keith? Yes, go ahead, please.
Thank you for the update. I have two questions for you. First, on the automated speed enforcement. So I think if you might recall, I think it was my first or second meeting when you first announced this, that we were going to start up the segment up north. I was a little skeptical because of my experience at the municipal level, but I'd like to know, like, what have we seen come out of that test period? So I think you mentioned we're about to go live and actually start finding folks, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, issuing violations starting this past Monday.
Yep.
It's just some lessons learned from a CDOT perspective is we do not issue, we're not an enforcement agency, so we don't issue tickets. So this is, besides the CTIO STEP program, this is new to CDOT. So we had to do a lot of back office work, getting that we don't have courts and jurisdictions, stuff like that. So we had to get some administrative law judges under contract and get our back office set up for receiving violation payments, enforcing those and everything. So we definitely had a prolonged warning period, which is okay. It's, we're trying to get out there. We did see during that warning period, which was about, I'd say a little over 6 months, we saw a dramatic reduction in speeds along that corridor. I believe it was I can't remember the exact number, but we definitely saw a trend over time. And then as we got in probably about 3 to 3.5 months ago, we definitely saw a steady state out there, more uniform traffic flow. All of the signs were up saying you're entering a speed enforcement zone, which is good there. So we definitely saw some positive reductions in speed, which is one of the biggest factors on fatalities and serious injuries across the state is speed. And so we definitely think it's a helpful tool. We're going to piggyback on a lot of the local agencies that are out there doing the speed enforcement across the state. We definitely want to continue to focus in construction zones for the short term. Long term, hopefully move into some Avis corridors across some of our interstate facilities and items like that. So this will be our first deployment on interstates up on segment 5. So we'll continue to monitor that and make sure it's efficient and working properly. But yeah, we definitely see a lot of positives to this situation. We have not had, we've had a reduction in crashes in 119 corridor as well. So everything's trending in the right direction.
All right, good. I'm really happy to hear that. And then I'm also unhappy, though, to hear about the traffic fatalities where we ended up last year. It's really unfortunate. And I guess, do you know where like the biggest hotspot, I guess, where are the hotspots maybe on our network?
Yeah, we continue to, I would say, mature in our crash data, our crash dashboards, our safety software. We are getting in and analyzing those 2 months, trying to really take a look at what is exactly happening. We can tell you that we've seen an increase in motorcycle fatalities in November and December. Looking at the weather that we've experienced across the state in November and December, I think we had more VRUs out on the road. We had more motorcyclists going on. So I'm not sure if it's the time change a little bit with maybe some nighttime driving with those motorcyclists and those information like that, or drivers not used to seeing those motorcyclists out in those months. So We're definitely going to dive into that data. We're going to try to be more sophisticated with our analysis of that and see what we can do and try to move some of our projects and stuff into that direction.
Great. Is that something that we'd be able to get like as part of like a report back to the board?
Absolutely. Yeah. A lot of the information that we're trying to get out there, we can do the analysis and provide those reports. We do have several public facing dashboards, very user friendly to use. You can toggle months, alcohol impaired, seatbelts, no seatbelts, items like that through that. So we're trying to get this information out so our local agencies can use it, so our law enforcement can use it, so our public can see and understand the situation that we're in.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, great question. And I echo the hope that you can bring it back. I was just hoping that November and December reflect sort of a fluke, you know, maybe given a combination of circumstances or something, given your prior consistent trend downward. That's my hope anyway. Commissioner Gutierrez.
Yeah, very appreciate the report and especially that piece of it. And I your comment about having to set up your own back office and so on. And I know that as you start to expand that, probably I know that CTIO is really moving forward with a back office that is scalable, and I think that future conversations, as you start to ramp up the future conversations with the CTIO back office, I think could probably be beneficial in helping move that program along, because I've seen that program in operation on 119, and I anecdotally I have seen the speeds on 119 be very, very most people are really complying with those speed limits in that construction zone. So I think it's a fabulous program that'll save our staff any kind of injury out there and potential for injury out there, but for the motorists as well. So just a thought for future conversations as you start to expand this program that I think is extremely valuable.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, something to sink in that you said there has been a reduction in crashes. Do you have a number?
I don't have the number with me today, but yeah, we can definitely get that as an update to commission.
That's great. Thank you very much. Okay, next up is the CTIO Director's Report, Piper Darlington.
Morning, commissioners. Just a few items from me this morning. I know we had a lot of dialogue yesterday, so I really just wanted to express my appreciation for letting us join your 10-year plan workshop and having the CTIO board at the table. It was really valuable for me to hear your feedback and comments. So I'm sure there'll be more opportunities for my board to engage with the TC in those forums. So I really appreciate letting us crash your 10-year plan party yesterday. Keith mentioned you have a lot of materials in your packet, but somewhere around the same page numbers he mentioned, I wanted to direct your attention to an informational item that we provided you this month, which is sort of an annual review of our Globeville, Elyria, Swansea Tolling Equity Program. And it really gives a great overview of kind of stats on the program. As a reminder, we're giving out transit passes and then $100 worth of toll credits as part of that program. And so it gives some great stats. We saw a 22% increase in the use of the transit passes last year. The toll credits are a little more challenging, to be honest. There's a barrier to entry. We need people to sign up for that. So we have invested a lot of money and resources in getting people out in the community to help sign people up. We did a lot of door-to-door outreach this year using community members. So the report gives you all a great feel for where we are with the program. It also highlights a few key changes that our board approved this past year, really to increase participation. One of those was we switched from a federal poverty level metric for the toll credits to an area median income, again, with the goal of really increasing the pool of people who are eligible to sign up for that toll credit element. And the other one, which I believe I highlighted in one of my director's reports, was we entered into a partnership with the Connector, which is currently operated by the city and county of Denver in the area. But there was really a gap in kind of evenings and weekends there. So we were able to step in as part of our program to help support that. So that should be launching here shortly. And I look forward to, providing the commission updates as that service gets kicked off. But it's essentially, an on-demand sort of Uber or Lyft for the community that they can use. So we're really trying to be responsive to the community and trying to shape the program and be nimble with what we can do. We did provide you in the packet with our 2025 Transit Pass survey results, which gives some good insight on what we're hearing from the community, what they want to see in the program, how they're using the program, maybe some barriers for them. And we're really trying to use those barriers to inform the solutions that we're trying to come up with and the changes that we're trying to make. We also included a dashboard on the toll credits. You can sort of see the uptick in participation since the inception of the program. So there's some good information in your packet. And wanted to just make sure that this information is still valuable for the commission. I know you have a lot of materials, but just, it seems that you all appreciate receiving this information, especially those commissioners who are in the area of GES, such as Commissioner Marcano. So, just, it seems like this information is still valuable. So we'll continue to provide it as long as it's useful for the commission. So maybe I would ask, is this information still useful for the commission? And I'm happy to continue to keep providing it.
Thank you very much. Any questions, Commissioner Jones?
Well, I'm happy to answer that question, which is yes. I
Okay,
found it very
That's what I
fascinating.
assumed, but just wanted to check.
Look forward to hearing how these changes result in hopefully improvements to uptake and that kind of thing. I was curious if I could ask a question on whether or not you see this as a model and what are we learning from this opportunity in Central 70 for use on the 270 project, and if there's some learnings from that we would transfer to that.
No, I appreciate the question. And, this has been a really interesting journey for CTIO because this is a first in the nation program. There really are no other states operating a tolling equity program. So we've gotten a lot of attention from our peers in other states to talk to them about exactly what you're getting at. What are the challenges? How is this working? Technologically, how are you managing this program? How are you managing the toll credits? How are you, partnering with companies like BankPass, which makes it available on your phone? You can go into a 7-Eleven and reload your account. So we've gotten a lot of attention nationwide for this program because it is unique. And so we didn't really have a lot of peers to draw from here. So we're kind of learning as we go. I think one main takeaway that we've learned is getting people to sign up is very hard. It's very challenging. Having any barrier to entry has made it really difficult to try to advance the toll credit element. We were very surprised at how successful the transit element was. I mean, there is no barrier to entry. Those are available at libraries, community centers, schools, rec centers in the GES community. So we really learned that a lot of people in GES told us that they don't drive on Central 70. They just don't use the highway for their commuting patterns or getting to and from, doctor's appointments or where they need to go. So the transit element was actually more heavily utilized than we anticipated it to be. We thought the toll credit element would be a little bit more successful because it's essentially free tolls. So I think that's one lesson that we could take into any potential future expansion or future GES program. We undertook this program really as a requirement of the federal record of decision for Central 70. And so whatever the state lands on in terms of state commitments for, I-270, we could certainly be a part of that conversation in terms of, is there something the toll element, is there a use or a role for an equity program to play in that community? But I think I would definitely want to be at the table for that because we have learned a lot. And we've really learned about sort of what works, what doesn't. We've really tried to be out there and hearing from the community. So I think those are a couple takeaways that we've learned. Really, how can we lower the barrier to entry? Because that will make the program more successful. And I think also offering options. I think the fact that we have the transit and the toll credit speaks to both, and you can use both. There's no barrier to having toll credits and the transit passes. So I think kind of optionality has been really successful, and really trying to figure out ways to meet the community where they are our lessons so far. Mhm.
Thank you. Go ahead, Commissioner Marcano.
Thank you. Just piggybacking on that, 'cause we heard from some of the public comments earlier about the really dearth of transportation options along the 270 corridor as it stands. I'm curious, would a similar model that we utilize for I-70 allow us to find a way to support the development of transit services for the communities that live along the 270 corridor? Because really, it's very much a monomodal environment right now. Like if you don't have a car, you're kind of SOL. RTD does serve the area, but not very well. And the end line is on the west end of that corridor. So.
Yeah, I appreciate that question. And I think, from my perspective, CTIO has always been involved in transit, right? I have been here over 10 years, and I think Director Liu cited US 36. One of our first projects out of the gate was a transit-oriented multimodal corridor. So I think we have a lot of models that we can draw from the CTIO perspective. Even, granted, that was a public-private partnership, but it had money from RTD at the table. Tolls were there, right? Even the operational concept of that corridor is we're not pricing tolls lower than transit because we want to incentivize people to use the Flatiron Flyer. And even you heard about some of the success on I-25 that we've had with, our role in building the infrastructure. Tolls are directly constructing mobility hubs and that infrastructure that we need to even support an expansion. So I would say CTIO has never shied away from creative ideas or pushing the envelope. That's our whole role. And so at the department. And so I think we've already can draw on 10 plus 15 years of successful partnership with CDOT on how we're delivering these corridors. So I don't know exactly what that looks like in the future yet. Obviously, our, Commissioner Gutierrez with his director hat on, mentioned that we are obviously having active conversations at our board on how can we push the envelope? And I think I am excited for that conversation because I think so far we have been integral to the success of transit in the state. And tolls really are facilitating that, especially on I-25 is a critical example. So that's how I feel so far. So I think we're excited for the challenge. I think you all heard from the board that they are ready to take on whatever the future is and trying to obviously, implement our new explicit mandates under 184 to really help prioritize transit and rail. So.
One thing I would, you've brought this before, you've reported on this before, but just to underscore for the current topic, the data you had collected for the on-demand service up until now, before it's expanded, shows that 50% of the rides are true shared rides. So this isn't just acting like Uber or Lyft. This is actually getting people off, getting cars off the road and, or at least their equivalent. And then secondly, the majority of the stops involved an RTD station or stop. So they're getting people to transits, acting as a true first and last mile. So thank you very much for that. Oh, Commissioner Gutierrez.
Thank you. And Piper, I really appreciate you highlighting all of that this morning, because I think, quite frankly, in some of my conversations with folks, they have a view that CTIO is all about highways, and that has never been the reality. And I really appreciate Commissioner Jones' question about, is this are we able to replicate this? And as you know, that was my first question when we first started talking about 270 and it came up, because I think it has been a really, really great program, and there are some challenges with it, but we've solved them, and I'm really proud of what CTIO staff has done to solve those challenges. So thank you. And but there's one more question I have that'll move us away from that, if that's okay. One of the other things, and you and I had a discussion yesterday offline, one of the other items that has come up during my discussions with citizens has been they've taken a look at our budget as an opportunity for increasing and using our budget for increasing transit, right? And they look at the bottom line that says we've got this year it'll be $148 million. It says unallocated balance. But what I want everybody to know is that that isn't money, that $148 million is not really and truly available. And can you just share some of the things that you and I discussed yesterday, please, on
All right.
that?
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Gutierrez. I feel like I should call you Director Gutierrez. Yeah, and I think I really appreciate that feedback because I think the one thing that sort of often gets lost is, you know, CTIO has been a tool for CDOT to deliver a lot of infrastructure so far. You know, collectively, we've delivered over $3 billion worth of critical projects in the state, most of which probably couldn't have been delivered to the scale they were or on the timeline that they were without CTIO. But in order to do that, right, we leveraged a lot of these tolls. So CTIO has a lot of obligations, current and future. So the concept is that CTIO is generating dollars that it is banking for future debt service payments. And oftentimes I think that's lost when we're just looking at the annual view. And so I think Director Gutierrez and I had a really good conversation about probably in February when we workshop on our budget, how do we better reflect that bigger view of where CTIO dollars are going? Because we have requirements to basically hold cash in reserves for future, you know, capital improvements on our corridors, future balloon debt service payments. So I think trying to figure out how to provide a better view of, yes, in a given year, there's the annual view of what we have, but then sort of what is our long-term sort of use of our tolls and where is that going to go? Because really the intent of CTIO is that we are banking some of these tolls for really future debt service payments, which will balloon. But we are still a relatively young revenue generating entity. You know, most of our tolling corridors are still in their infancy too. So I think we had a really good dialogue on sort of how to better reflect sort of our budget and cash position. So I think we'll take some of that back, you know, and obviously that translates to how the commission is sort of viewing CTIO in our role too. So just to provide a brief you know, elaborate a little bit more on what we chatted about.
Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate your report.
Great. Thank you.
Next is the stack report. Gary Beatty, current chair. Hello.
Good morning. We had our stack meeting on January 8th and appreciate the commissioners that sat in on that online and listened in. Always appreciate you listening and open to ask us questions when you're on. So thank you. Some of the highlights, we did pass a letter to send a letter to the JBC in support of the MMOF funding, that they continue the general fund transfers to that fund so that communities and the state can continue with the projects that have been selected and are moving forward, hopefully with the funding as it comes forward. So we are sending that when we find it appropriate to send it to the commission so they don't lose, or the JBC, so they don't lose it in the paperwork. We also had an update on the MMOF funding and some of the funding that's coming up on a hard time limit at the end of 2026, that some of the communities still have not gotten the projects completed. So making sure that all the partners are trying to get that funding spent so we don't lose it in the state funds. We had an update on the live cameras that were taken offline that you guys have heard. Also a truck chain up station overview. And then we also have the 10-year plan presentation on Region 3 and 5. And then, which on the 10-year plan, as we heard yesterday with the rest of the regions presenting, I would like to, although it's a great list and we're looking forward to those projects getting moving forward, the long range plan has a much longer list that a lot of those could have been brought into that 10-year plan list if the funding would have been available. Somewhere around 25% of projects are on that 10-year list. compared to what a lot of the regions would like to be seeing done for improvements to the system. Safety improvements, all the different things, transit, all the different things that go into that 10-year plan list. So just want to remind you, we still need all that extra funding. We need the legislature and the voters to understand that the shortfall that we're facing. So when we talk about the 10-year plan, we need also always reinforce that there is still a large backlog of projects, because we are doing what we can with the funding we have, but we do still have that large backlog. Which that tied into what was presented yesterday at the workshops. One of the other items with the greenhouse gas reduction, listening to that presentation and talking about the dirty VMT miles and how they use that to calculate the statewide impacts. Just sitting there thinking about congested corridors and having driven trucks and the pickups we use on the farm and things, now that we have all the monitoring in the vehicle, and you see how your mileage drops as soon as you have to start slowing down into traffic or things like that. And you see how much more fuel you're using just because of congestion or having to slow down in cities or places where you have to start idling more or having to speed up and slow down a lot more. You see how much fuel starts being sucked out, especially by the large trucks, pickups that are doing construction, all those delivery vehicles, those sorts of things. So when we're looking at the corridors, it's very important we look at reducing that congestion. And I think that ties into the conversation we've been hearing with the 270 and I-25. Those are backbones for the state. And if those are congested, those communities have to take on that pollution, because that congestion is slowing all that traffic down and using a much more fuel in those corridors, where if we can get them more efficient, which is partly, unfortunately, having to add some capacity strategically. I don't think anybody warrants us going to a 20-lane interstates through the city, but I think most all these communities, through the long process that we've heard, 15 years of planning with these communities and working to try to bring these projects forward, because they've seen that need for so long, that we need to honor those public input that's been through these planning processes for so many years and help work forward for those communities, and not listen to some of these things that come flying in from outside trying to stop something in favor of something else, when many of our projects are now designed including all those other transit needs, pedestrians, getting them connected across our interstates much better, interstate highways. So we're trying to address all those things, and we need these projects to move forward throughout the planning process and hopefully get more funding so we can get that 10-year plan finished and bring more of those projects forward in the coming years. So thank you. I think that covers stack input. So
Thank you
any
very much.
questions for me?
Yeah, I'll check. Any questions for Gary Beatty or the stack?
Anything you'd like stack to bring input on?
First of all, I wanted to thank you for interjecting yesterday, the role of the TPR and the folks on your committee as well in helping to identify the priorities for the 10-year plan. So please relay that for us. It was just much appreciated. And I think the good work that they did is reflected within the plan. And so thanks.
The TPRs are all the communities, the towns and counties, and they work on that, trying to get the input to the commission and the state to help guide these plans and stuff. And I do want to thank all the staff that works through that, all the regional directors and all their staff. And Darius and his whole department that helps work with those communities to try to coalesce all the ideas out there, because it's a lot. And then we have to come back to reality. If this is the funding we have available, these are the most pressing needs right now. Like my region, we have the interstates, I-70 and I-76 were our big issues on our 10-year plan, in addition to a few others. But we would have loved to be able to take those interstates off and say, do all these other roads. But because of priorities and understanding the fundings, we're like, interstates are critical to us, the state, and the entire region of the country. As Commissioner Ritter mentioned earlier, that these interstates are interstates, and we have to remember that connection to the rest of the country and the important state role. So, which I may have mentioned this in the past, but like the Safeway stuff on Colorado Boulevard and I-70. They serve the entire Rocky Mountain region. So they serve
wow.
from Utah, Wyoming, New Mexico, Arizona. All those are served out of Denver. So that's why these interstate connections are so important. You have Ardent Mills in Commerce City off of 270 and some of those that serve the entire region. So those are the things that are in the metro area. You can't just move those, or you'd have a major economic impact to move those out of the area. And a lot of them don't want to move because they found like the sweet spot where they can serve the most people most efficiently. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think we're on to our agenda, our action items on our agenda. So moving to the consent agenda, first of all, we have looks like 7 items. I'll go ahead and read them for the record. Resolution number 1, that's to approve the regular meeting minutes. There's no attachment, or there wasn't an attachment, but it's not a resolution. Resolution number 2, IGA approval for items over $750,000. Resolution number 3, disposal of parcel E4 REVEX in Crawford, Colorado. Proposed resolution number 4, the disposal of a vacant parcel in Sedgwick. Proposed resolution number 5, that's disposal of County Road 220 at US 550 to La Plata County, south of Durango. Proposed resolution number 6, that's a correction to TC resolution 2025-0403. That's a property exchange declaration of excess parcels in the city of Rifle. And finally, proposed resolution number 7, Federal Boulevard BRT request for alternative delivery, CMDC. And we have representatives of the staff here who can answer questions if needed. But I'll go ahead and open it up for any comment or questions. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Commissioner Jones?
Second.
Commissioner or Vice Chair Bowman, a second. So with no other comments, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, it looks like that's good. And then we're on to discuss and act on proposed resolution number 8. That's the TAM, the Transportation Asset Management Planning Budgets for 2030 and 2031. Darius, welcome.
Good afternoon, sorry. Good morning, commissioners. My apologies there. I think I've been talking too much over the past couple of days. Proposed resolution 8 sets out the planning budgets for the asset management programs for fiscal years 30 and 31 for 11 asset classes. Those set those planning budgets at $390 million for fiscal year 30 and $398 million for fiscal year 31, which is a 5.4% increase from the FY29 level and a 2.1% increase on top of that. These planning budgets allow our regional staff to plan out the program of projects 4 years ahead of time. And of course, those budgets become final budgets once that budget comes forward to the TC at the time that the Division of Accounting and Finance presents its budget in the November and March budget timeframes, usually in the year prior to that. But these planning budgets to allow those projects to be planned out and scoped out. So that way we're able to get those programs get going along the way and put together surface treatment projects with bridge projects and other projects throughout that time frame. So they are allowed to see what's available as they put those together. And this is in compliance with Policy Directive 1609, which sets out the TAMCAP and lays out the rules and requirements of the Transportation Asset Management Program. I'm happy to answer any questions regarding this request today, otherwise asking for a motion to approve this resolution.
Thank you, Darius. We've had workshops on this, but are there any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, look for a motion.
So moved.
Diane Barrett, the first.
Second.
Commissioner Gutierrez, the second. Thank you. All right. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, there you go, Darius. Thank you. Thank you for all your work. And thank you also for integrating that a bit into the 10-year plan in some of the slides you provided yesterday. Really appreciated that added info. So
Thank you, Commissioner.
thank you. Okay, we don't have any recognitions or other matters. And so I'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting. We'll move right into the Bridge and Tunnel Enterprise Board of Directors meeting. Again, it's Thursday, January 15, 10:10 in the morning. If you would, please call to order.
Director Barrett,
Or call, I always get that backwards. Here.
Director Marcano,
Present.
Director Jones,
Here.
Director Gutierrez,
Here.
Director Ritter,
Here.
Director McLaughlin,
Here.
Director Parsons,
Here.
Director Hart,
Here.
Director Masters,
Excused.
Vice Chair Bowman,
Here.
Chair Cook.
In here. Sorry, I always get those reversed. So thank you for calling the roll. Next, if we have any public comments, anybody here to address the Bridge and Tunnel Enterprise? Nobody online, so I think we're good there. Then we have a consent agenda, proposed resolution BTE number 1, approve the regular meeting minutes of December 17, 2025. Any changes or comments or deletions on that minutes? Seeing
Move to
none.
approve
Sorry,
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Commissioner Gutierrez. Commissioner Jones on resolution BTE 1. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, we're good there. And then we have proposed resolution BTE 2, that's the 7th budget supplement to FY 2025-26. Patrick Holinda, thank you.
Good morning, directors. I'm here today to request your approval of the 7th supplement to the fiscal year 2026 Bridge and Tunnel Enterprise budget. This month, we have one request from Region 3 to approve an $838,736,000 increase to the construction phase budget of a project to replace US 40 over Shelton Ditch. So the structure is located on the east end of the town of Hayden in Routt County. This is a top-tier candidate for bridge replacement in our Bridge and Tunnel Enterprise prioritization plan. The board previously discussed and approved a construction phase budget of just under $2.6 million for the project in October of 2025, and the project was subsequently advertised. We did receive 5 bids for the project. The lowest 3 were within 10% of each other and a total variance of 22% in total cost across all bids. So we're happy with the turnout for the bids. The issue we had is that all of the bids were significantly over our engineer's estimate. Upon review of the bid tabs, staff noted that most of the bid item unit costs were pretty closely aligned with our engineer's estimate. We had a few items that varied: mobilization, removal of detour, and the precast concrete box item. While they varied from the engineer's estimate, all of the bids were generally in alignment. So that does give us confidence that those bids are indicative of market conditions and fair pricing. So given that trend, the results of the review performed by staff, we are comfortable recommending that the project is awarded. In accordance with our policy directive 703, the boards of approval of this budget supplement is required to proceed with award because of the amount of the variance. So that's why we're here bringing this to you today. So with that, happy to answer any questions you may have. If there are none, I request you consider a motion to approve.
Any questions of Patrick about the increased construction phase cost adding to the contract? Okay, anybody have a motion here?
So moved.
Commissioner Ritter?
Second.
Vice Chair Bowman or Commissioner Marcano? Same. All right, would all in favor please say aye? Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, thank you very much. No other matters on that, and that brings us to adjournment. So thank you all. Ran over compared to our agenda, but the agenda was crammed tight. So I was glad we were able to have some extra time to listen to comments and so forth. So, and to ask questions. Thank you all, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you.